good afternoon, I should say. So normally when you see me in the car, it's pitch black and it's about 6:05 in the morning, and that's normally on a Thursday morning, by the way. This is a Tuesday afternoon, so what am I doing? Well, I think I look pretty cool today, but we're going back in time. So this is my fragrance film for this week. So normally I'm doing acting, very bad acting if you can call it acting. Today I'm just me. I'm just going to be Harry, the person that you sometimes see doing the fragrance videos, just myself, because what I'm doing, well, let's put it in perspective. It's currently half term in the United Kingdom. If you don't know what that is, basically the schools are off this week. They're on the holidays, halfway to Christmas essentially. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to go back. I'm on the way because the roads are a bit quieter because of the school traffic not being around. I'm heading to my place where I did my first job. So thankfully it's not too long a journey, and I'm going back in time really because I haven't been there for 7 years. That's when I have been there, sorry, for 7 years. I left about 4 years ago, but I started working there 7 years ago. And I kind of just want to go back on like a fragrance memory. So when I first got into fragrances, it was actually through my job as a receptionist, and I did 2 jobs here. So I worked on a holiday park, so we're going basically on a holiday park. I'm expecting it to be quite busy there at the minute because obviously it's holiday season and Halloween and everything. And we're going to walk round the park basically today, and I'm going to sort of talk about the building, some of the caravans we walk by, and just where I've had a fragrance memory, just also some general stories. So not all about fragrances, but yeah, fragrances I've worn during those jobs I did in those buildings and those venues, and just it's the first time I've been there since I left years ago, and I've got so many stories, so many memories, and fragrances also actually played a part in them. I forgot I'm going a different way today. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do today. We're gonna do a bit of a walk and talk, not too much editing, but yeah, just I'm going to talk about the fragrances I wore during those roles, some experiences I had, and yeah, hopefully this film will, it's a little bit selfish, maybe it's for me because it's my memories, but hopefully I can tell you some funny stories, and again you can learn a little bit more about me. That's what I'm hoping. So yeah, what we're going to do, I'm going to finish this drive. It's not the shortest journey, so I'll stop it here, and I've brought a fragrance with me as well, one that I wore when I was doing sports coaching there. Just turned up. It's so super bright. What a lovely afternoon. It's very windy, so I better just let you know that before we start talking. I've got a short walk I've got to make because I'm not allowed to drive in there anymore. So what have I brought with me? So I brought my bag of goodies. It's got my drink in and a banana and extra glasses because dark evenings now, but I have brought a fragrance with me to sort of help me on this scent memory today as I go into the place where I first worked. So what one have I brought with me? I brought Cuba Prestige Classic, which is a clone of the original Amen. I wore Amen, I'll talk about that during the walk, but I also wore this one and sprayed it on my lunch breaks. So I used to come and sit back in my car. That's burning my nostrils. And yeah, this got me a lot of compliments, so we'll talk about that during the sort of walk today. What I'm going to do, I'm going to head there now, do a short walk, talk about how I ended up here, why I sort of left uni with a sports science degree, first class honours sports science degree, the highest I could get, and then I ended up doing reception work. So yeah, we'll talk about a little story while I head there, and yeah, time to get going. So yeah, so I left uni in 2017 it would have been, so a long time ago, and I started working here in February 2018. So yeah, kind of why did I end up working as a receptionist? Well, it was kind of a little bit by accident, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was struggling with confidence. I couldn't look anyone in the eye. Basically, I was so shy, had confidence issues, and just was really struggling. So I really struggled to find a job because I just got too nervous in interviews. Anyway, this one came up, and the job title was Holiday Experience Team Member, and it sounded like you'd basically be out and about doing all sorts of odd jobs. Actually, I didn't read the small print. It was a reception-based role. And essentially, I reckon if it said receptionist, I would have never have done it. But what that allowed me to do is that really got my confidence up, because obviously in a reception-based role, you've got to talk all the time, whether that's on the phone, whether that's to customers, whether that's dealing with complaints. And honestly, I completely changed. I became the Harry that people saw at home, or family would see, and your odd circle of friends. And yeah, it was just the best thing. It was exactly what I needed at that time. So it was basically by accident. It was the first job I had. I was really struggling because I thought, oh, I've got this amazing degree. Surely I'm going to find something, perfect for me, because people will want that person. But yeah, because I didn't have any work experience, it cost me. But I do believe things happen for a reason, and yeah, it was a great place to work. So I'm going to say that before we turn up there. I worked with some amazing people, all different backgrounds, and I was there for 5 seasons, 4 years it was actually, 5 seasons, and yeah, first time I've been there in 3 years. It's 3 years ago I left. I got it wrong earlier. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much it's changed. Hey, we are nearly there. So this road I'm just on at the minute, so I've got buttermint in my mouth. I love buttermints, I'm obsessed with them. But yeah, Emma Bunton from the Spice Girls, if anyone knows the Spice Girls, she used to live down this road here, so a little bit of celebrity status. And funny enough, obviously Victoria Beckham was in that group. I wore a lot of Beckham fragrances when I was in my first job because I had them in the small bottles. So yeah, we'll talk about them in a little bit because I did get a few compliments on them. David Beckham Classic it was great. So here we go, round the corner. I used to dread these mornings. I was like, oh, I'm scared of what's going to happen today. Today though, we're going to have some fun. Okay, so here we are. Just walking past where I had my job interview at the time. I was extremely nervous. I remember coming in really, really nervous, like, oh no, how's it going to go, what to expect, am I going to be with other people? Anyway, through that door, or through that building I just showed you there on the side, essentially it's an arcade. So straight when you go in, it's an arcade. And because I was early, the lady who I sort of met at the desk at the time, she said to me, feel free to play on the arcade machines. We're not open at the minute, so everything's free. So essentially I could have just played hook and dove, or played a bit of bowling or something while I was waiting, but I was far too nervous to actually do it. However, I do remember the fragrance I wore that day. So the fragrance I wore was Aramis Devin, or Devan, not sure how it's pronounced, but it was this old school sort of orange fragrance. Very, very nice. My dad bought me it actually at the time, and it was a super strong performer. It was a very old school sort of fragrance, very heavy, very in your face. And again, I just remember just sitting there waiting for the interview. But one thing I can remember is, one, I needed the toilet because I drank so much water that morning, and two, my fragrance was strong. So this is where I did my first reception job, this one here. So yes, as you can tell by the welcome flags and stuff outside, that is where I did my first job. So essentially in there I had many, many experiences we're going to talk about through this walk. Now the first story I'm going to tell you is during this time, so this caravan I'm walking by now, this area is called Church Meadow, and obviously 2018 was the year of the World Cup when England did quite well. And my manager was really, really into his football, and he said to me, because he knew I liked it as well, he said, why don't you watch the game, so I'll get you a key for the caravan and you can watch England-Sweden. It was England-Sweden, which I think was the quarter-final at the time, and you can watch it for 2 hours during your shift. Now I was very happy with that, but I worked with a team of women on reception and they weren't into football, so he never asked them to. So I got 2 hours off to watch the football game, which certainly probably wasn't the most popular thing he instructed me to do, and it didn't make me that popular that day. But that day I remember watching the game, and the fragrance I wore that day, funny enough, was CK One Shot. So yeah, CK One Shot was the fragrance I watched when England beat Sweden in that game. And again, because it was a really hot caravan, because the windows hadn't been open, this was obviously in the summer, it was really projecting, because I put a lot on. I was trying to impress that day, because I was starting to get a few compliments on the job. So yeah, there's one of the scents I wore that day that still stuck in my mind. Commonfield. Now this gives me some bad memories, or bad flashbacks, because essentially on my first week it was this cold snap called Beast from the East. It was in March, so it was quite late in the year, and the problem was that day is we had to, as receptionists, because the park was opening the week after, we had to go underneath the caravans, and what they have under the caravans is these little taps, and the taps under there you had to turn on, and essentially they'd been turned off because they didn't want the pipes to freeze. So I came in all smartly dressed with my smart trainers, and then I got told that first week you need to take these television cables and batteries, go in the caravan, do all these checks, and do all these things. And I was like, I haven't got the right footwear for it. So I had to ring my dad to come and bring some. But in the meantime, I was just underneath all these caravans, literally trying to turn on these taps. Honestly, it was an absolute nightmare, complete nightmare. And I just remember my dad turning out like, what on earth are you doing? You've got TV cables outside hanging outside your pockets and all these things. And I was like, honestly, I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. It was like a complete shock. It was like, I thought you were a receptionist. And that was probably the time I thought, actually, I don't think I'll mind being a receptionist. If this is the alternative, climbing under caravans, then I don't want to do this any longer. But eventually, got locked in one of the caravans around there. And do you know what? Funny enough, it made me relax after that. Now, of course, when people are paying a lot of money for holidays with young children in the sort of summer seasons, people can complain, and complaints were very, very common, and this was normally one of the main reasons people complain. So I went to an area called Priory View. Now, Priory View, in my opinion, is the nicest part of the whole park, because what you've got is you've got a view of the lagoon, and it is stunning. When the sun's out like this, it's stunning. However, there's a problem. I'm about sort of 10 minutes into the walk now, and if you've got young children, 10 minutes walking can be quite a long way. And of course, where I walked in at the start, where the arcade is, that's where the restaurant is, and you'll see later on it's where all sort of the sports stuff is and all the activities like archery are. Yeah, it's a long way to have children that don't want to walk. So a lot of people used to complain that they were basically at the far end of the park and they had to walk a long way, and you used to be able to put requests on, but you couldn't guarantee it. So I used to be dreading it on check-in days when I had to tell someone, oh, you're right at the back of the park, and they'll tell me they put in a request and they specifically said they can't because they've got an injury or something along those lines. But of course the park was full, so you could very rarely move them. So what used to happen is a lot of the people would turn up, pretend there's something dirty in it, even though it was absolutely clean as anything, and tell you they must be moved. And I used to face the brunt of a lot of those moans. However, we must say that check-in days were also a great opportunity for compliments, because I would probably cross within a day. Used to get about 1,000 people coming onto the site. I'd probably do about 120 check-ins, so quite a lot. So it was great for compliments. So what phrases did I wear on those days? Well, I remember telling this story before, but I wore Dark Obsession by Calvin Klein as well on one of the days. And I remember finishing one of my check-ins with a lady with her husband. They'd literally just travelled down. The last thing she said to me before I'd given them the key was, oh, you smell really nice, by the way. And it was Dark Obsession. It really brightened my mood that day, because obviously it's a stressful day doing all those check-ins, but the fact that someone had noticed it, and that was about 6-7 hours since I'd arrived, I was quite surprised. That's a brilliant fragrance, Dark Obsession. But what other fragrances did I wear in that building? What other fragrances did I wear on those busy, stressful days? One was Next Edition. Now, Next is like Zara, if you know Zara fragrances. And it was just a very clean, sort of vanilla type scent, but very mass appealing. The only issue with it is if you were a bit sweaty and a bit hot, that vanilla was quite sickly sweet, and you'd almost have that bit of BO smell. So got compliments on it, but I wasn't a massive fan of it at times because I thought it made me smell a bit. I thought it didn't mix well with my skin chemistry. I also wore a blue Cerruti fragrance. I don't know if anyone really wears Cerruti now, but Cerruti 1881, it was like a blue bottle. It was very fruity, but had no longevity at all. But of course in that building as well, which I showed you earlier, that's where I wore Infinite Intense, and that's where I got my first real compliments, to be honest. Infinite Intense was, well, it is a brilliant fragrance. I did a fitness fragrance review of it the other day, so please check it out if you haven't seen it. And I just remember all the ladies I was working with that morning, because I'd sprayed a lot of it. They said, that's you, isn't it, who smells really nice? And it was the first time I'd literally had people stop and say how nice I smelled. I'd had the odd nice sort of comment in passing, but this was like everyone stopped what they were doing on the desk in there and just were like, you smell really, really nice. And from there, of course, I'm now starting to get really into fragrances, and reception jobs are the perfect place for that. I remember sitting next to one of my colleagues, Debbie, and she basically said, you're wearing Davidoff Coolwater. And it was one of the flankers, it was Davidoff Coolwater Wave, which said, I recognise that scent. And that was probably the first time, though, where I remember saying to my brother, I don't know if I want people to know what it is, and things like dupe and stuff, which are very familiar scents. That's when I stopped buying them for a period of time, because I realised actually I wanted to do something a little bit, or have something a little bit more unique. And then I started to branch out and try plenty more fragrances during that time. So what were the other ones I tried at that time? Well, again, at this stage, it's very early days in my fragrance journey. I was still going for cheapies because it was my first job. I didn't have a lot of money at the time. L'Oreal. So this was on Fragrance Direct at the time. L'Oreal H it was. Very, very much. Every sort of cheap fragrance back then used to smell like Paco Rabanne 1 million. Obviously that's changed a little bit now. But I had that one at the time. I actually had the original 1 million, which I got as a gift set. And they were kind of the mould, but David Beckham Classics, that was a popular one. Loads of Next fragrances. I also had one from Marks and Spencer, so I think it's called Maine. And an FC UK one, which I think was just called FC UK Him or something along those lines, just a very soapy type fragrance. So yeah, they were kind of the ones I wore during those reception times. And again, they all got compliments. Didn't matter how cheap they were, they did the job. And yeah, it just shows again, I think, that you don't have to spend that much money at times to actually get compliments. Like sometimes, yeah, you can notice quality, but sometimes it's just as long as you smell clean, you smell pleasant. As I always say, people will pick up on it. And reception jobs and indoor sort of buildings like that, it's like an old barn in there. It's a great environment for that. Okay, so we're approaching the place where most people wanted to be. Over there in the distance, called Lagoon Close. You can see someone's on one of those like go-karts. Yeah, I had to literally drive around the park on them to find go-karts that had been done, because what you tend to find, a lot of families would drive around the park and get really worn out and they couldn't bring them back. So one of my jobs when I eventually transitioned into a sports role was, yeah, that I had to do that. I had to go and drive a go-kart around the park to pick up go-karts. Bit of a workout, that's for sure. Now we're heading towards the activity range, so this is where I did most of my sort of work essentially. Now after my first year in reception, my confidence had grown, people had noticed a real change in me. I've just become a more confident person. It honestly did me wonders. All the complaints, all the experiences I just mentioned did me the world of good. And I remember on the staff night, so basically the Christmas party, which was in November, I got Employee of the Year, which was a real big thing for me. It's 250 employees on site, and I was voted by everyone in the team, or the managers on the park, to be the Employee of the Year, which got me £1,000 bonus as well. That's not bad. But that night I remember wearing Bentley for Men Intense. It was perfect for that time of year. Christmas dinner, a boozy type fragrance, delicious. So it always gives me that good memory, that having that fragrance. And I've obviously had it numerous times. I've got it again. And yeah, it was just one I thought was perfect for that occasion, and to receive that award, it was a bit of a shock, but you know, it's probably one of my proudest ever moments, and the confidence it gave me. It also then allowed me to basically transition into this sports coaching role, which I did for 4 years. So, you know, it was more suited to what I wanted to do, more aligned with what I did with my degree essentially. And yeah, it was great just to stay within the same business because I knew everyone already. See, this wasn't here at the time when I started, but just behind that, can you see that dome? So we are heading over to the activity range. This was essentially my building, so I ran the whole sports coaching here. So I was qualified in things like archery, rifle shooting, segways, football, and yeah, this was essentially my own bit. The problem was, it was a sauna. It was about 50 Celsius at times, no joke. I remember going in there once, it was 48 Celsius. We had to cancel one of the sessions because the actual metal on the rifles was too hot to, you know, touch it essentially. It was giving people blisters. So yeah, we'll walk by it and we'll talk about the fragrances I wore in there. It's busy round here. That does give me some throwbacks, lifting those archery targets up. So what fragrances did I wear in those times? Well, I wore Amen in there, which again in 50 Celsius heat probably wasn't the best, and obviously Cuba Prestige Classic. I remember where I'm walking now, essentially there's a zip wire behind me. That's where a boy literally could smell my fragrance from walking here. He said, "Was that you, Harry?" Because he knew my name obviously. And I was like, yeah, that is my fragrance. I sprayed it at lunch and literally come back in. It's got a super strong opening. It's a brilliant cologne, but it's very harsh, very synthetic. But yeah, if you don't want to spend the big prices for A, then this is a pretty good bet, to be honest. The other ones I wore in there, Dolce & Gabbana, light blue. I remember a few people in the team really liked that one. Again, perfect for this sort of outdoorsy weather. And it was just not too heavy, not too cloying, essentially, with that one. I also wore Musk Moon by Latifah. Got quite a few compliments on that. And also Gucci Guilty Cologne, which was a green soapy fragrance, really nice, clean sort of soapy one. I remember wearing Encre Noir in there, which certainly wasn't suitable for that condition. So obviously, as you can imagine, during the term time, it was super busy around. But actually, in the off season, wasn't busy at all. So when the schools were back, I'd just be sitting there waiting for people to come and join my sessions. Sometimes you go a whole day and you literally have no one. So I used to hide behind the curtain. This is when I was getting into starting to collect fragrances at the time. I remember buying fragrances behind the curtain, literally just spent £100 a day, more than what the shift basically was earning me. I bought Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, I bought Gucci Guilty Absolute. I remember buying the Pura gift set from Acqua di Parma. So yeah, it wasn't just a case of wearing fragrances, it was buying and collecting. It was starting to become my hobby during my sports coaching, essentially through boredom, because payday was every 2 weeks. I was like, oh, if I spend £100 now, I'll get that back again in a couple of weeks' time. So it's not always a good thing getting paid all the time very, very quickly, because yeah, sometimes can be make you spend a little bit more than you want to. So just leaving the park now, you would have just seen I've just gone past the swimming pool essentially. So that's where I used to clock in and clock out every day. And yeah, as I said, some really good experience. I never wanted to do lifeguarding though. That every year the team always said to me, do some lifeguarding now, because obviously they wanted you trained on everything in sport. Cheers. And yeah, one of the big issues was I was scared of the water, so I always used to sort of come up with an excuse why I couldn't do it, whether that was an injury or something. I never wanted to just say I'm scared of the water, which is silly really, isn't it? I could have just said I'm not a good swimmer and I wouldn't pass the test, but yeah, essentially because of that they left all the sports coaching to me, and that's what I enjoyed. I loved being an archery coach, football coach and all those things, and it was just, I said, for 4 years it became a little bit repetitive by the end, obviously saying the same thing, doing the same tests, but it was a great experience, and I said, what a lovely team. And yeah, I do miss it. It feels really weird to go back through there, but you know, I used to have to get that bus as well before I could drive. That was always a nightmare. But yeah, it's nice to see it's still around. It's certainly changed a little bit, certainly modernised, but yeah, again, it was the start of my fragrance journey there, start of my employment journey, and it certainly informed some of the fragrances that are in my collection today. Heading back to the car now, I'm just trying to think of other ones I wore during the time I was there, and I've come up with 5 off the top of my head. Cedrat di Taormina, my brother got me as a gift. Acqua di Parma Blue Mediterranean fragrance, absolutely lovely scent. Don't know if you can still get that one, but if you can, get it, because it's got a really nice citrus zest in it. So naturalistic, I love the aquas. I remember wearing 10 Lapis Pour Homme, super strong. That was, yeah, you could smell that outside. It was perfect for sports coaching. And I also had Pinot Silvestre, which is like a Christmas tree shaped bottle, which is a strong piney scent. I do remember having as well as this green Jaguar bottle. Jaguar, I didn't really like it. It was an old school fragrance, but it was like a really bitter, minty green fragrance. Again, very outdoorsy, very much suited to those sort of lumberjack type environments, but it had a heavy piney old school type vibe. Wouldn't get it again. And probably the other one I remember wearing a lot was Versace Blue Jeans, which was one of the first fragrances I actually bought for myself, and I used to spray that again on my lunch break in the car. And I mentioned it the other day because it was so hot in there, that sport train. I used to spray that fragrance on the back of my neck, but it used to sting so much. It was a really stinging fragrance. So all of those ones I wore then, which I just mentioned, were actually when I was a sports coach, not a receptionist. And yeah, none of them were suited again for those occasions. But as I said at the time, didn't even think about it. It was just something to put on, really. And the last thing I do want to mention as well, it's obviously I talked about guests that used to complain and owners that complain about things. Actually, there were a lot of very nice and very generous people. Again, summer holidays were busy, my birthday being the 1st of August. People used to get me presents. I remember guests buying me fudge, getting me birthday cards. Again, they'd only known me for a week or two they were there, but you know, really wanted to buy me things. When I was in reception, people bought me biscuits as a thank you, bottle of wine. I remember this family who made their ginger cake for me. So she was a lady who basically loved baking, and she got really far in the British Bake Off like nomination things to get on TV, and she did the most amazing ginger cake. And it made me realise, because I love ginger and fragrances as well, it made me realise actually how sort of sparkling ginger is as a sort of a note. So Ginger Lover by Zara is a really nice fragrance, and it's that sort of sparkling ginger I really like. Oh, it was one of the nicest cakes I've ever eaten, and yeah, she baked it just for me. So kind of people. Honestly, the amount of gifts and nice comments. We had a wow system at the time as well, so people would basically rate their stay, and anyone they could give a special mention to. Essentially, all the wows I got were the reason I got Employee of the Year, because you know it's just people would just say, you know, I help make their stay. And that's the thing I found. It didn't matter if it was reception, sports coaching, or whatever role you do, whatever you're doing. This is people listening, watching this. Doesn't matter what job you do, you can always make a positive difference. Just think how you can do it, make someone's day, and you'll feel better for it. Right, so we're back in the car, and yeah, it's getting very dark. It's only 4:15, but of course now the clocks have gone back. I better change my glasses because I don't think I'll be able to see driving home. But yeah, 7 years ago I first started working there as a receptionist, and then I went into sports coaching for a few years before I left to then work in education. And it was really nice to sort of go back to those memories, talking about fragrances I wore at the time, and also wearing a fragrance I wore during those experiences. It certainly enhanced my memories of that, you know, of those years, which I said essentially grew me up a bit. I said, never really worked before. My confidence was low, got me talking to people, and I've become a much sort of better person for those experiences there. So it was nice to see it again. It's changed a lot. Time moves too quickly though. It's very scary. But yeah, as I said, it did play a big part in my fragrance journey. So some of the fragrances, as I said, I own today, I've got in my collection again, all started from when I wore them there and got nice comments. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I said it was my fragrance film for this week. Wasn't so much of a comedy sketch, but yeah, I said it was a bit of a selfish one because I went back to some old stories. But yeah, hopefully you learned a little bit more about me still, and yeah, there'll be plenty more fragrance sort of films to come. I've got some fun ones in mind as well, and yeah, we'll do another live stream at some point. It's been a little while since I've done one of them, so I'll make sure I schedule one soon. So yeah, we're not far off 100 subscribers, as I said. Got a few things in mind for that one as well. So yeah, hopefully you'll stick around and watch those as well. But yeah, thank you very much for watching today. I'll catch you later.